Oh yeah, welcome back, Bourbon Quest. It's your host, Bourbon Steve. Oh man, well, glad you could join me today. What do we have today? We got some bottles we're gonna try and kill. So yeah. Anyways, it's towards the end of the week. Been a long week. Still got a long week left with the weekend as a bartender. You know how it is. Stay hydrated, my friends. But anyway, so some of these bottles I've had for a couple of years, and they're getting down towards the end. Figured it'd be time to try and kill some of these. So what do we have? Let's start with like the newest to the oldest. Anyways, this is Booker's. It's 2021-04, so that hadn't been around even a year yet. But anyways, it's the No Strangers batch. 2021-04, No Strangers, and just trying to make room for more Bookers that should be coming down the line, and then just a regular Buffalo Trace Benchmark 8, and then probably two of the longest ones that I've had open is old Fitzgerald, 16-year-old, bottled in bond. I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute, and then also William Heaven Hill, 13-year-old, also bottled in bond. And I picked these two up fairly early on in my bourbon quest, and to be honest with you, really didn't even know what I was buying at the time. Just was at the Heaven Hill distillery. They were available and expensive, and I bought them, and lo and behold, they were both freaking delicious and worth a lot more money on the secondary market, because I paid, maybe slightly above retail being at the distillery, but yeah. So one of them is, you look at that. The old Fitzgerald 16-year. I'm a sucker for bottle design, but that's one of the best bottle games out there. I do have a 9-year-old that has not been opened. That I know it's not the same as a 16, but it'll have to do, because that's the only two I've got. The 9-year-old's not been open. This has obviously been open for about a couple of years. Will look good out in the bourbon graveyard in the garage. So, but man, I've been needing another decanter. That'd make a nice decanter. It is a decanter. So, anyways. Cheers, Bourbon Quest. This is, it's so sweet and rich on the nose. You get that caramel, vanilla, get a little bit of apple. Definitely comes through with that wheat, just smooth, sweet. Not overpowering at 100 proof. Very inviting. Cheers, Bourbon Quest. It's a fantastic bottle, and truthfully, I believe it's gotten better over time with continued oxygen exposure. But yeah, that's freaking good. You get that wheat. It still does offer a little bit of spice. You get that apple, caramel, vanilla. Just a nice proof point there, not overpowering. It allows you to experience the flavors and nuances that it has to offer. Very crushable, very sweet. Granted, I knew it was one that could not easily be replaced, and hasn't been replaced. Has a baby brother, the 9-year-old, that'll have to suffice, but that's why it's hung around on the shelf for as long as it had, because it's one of those ones that you obviously aren't drinking on a daily basis, because it is so hard to get, but it is delicious. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of tired of looking at it. It needs to hit the graveyard and make room for other bottles on the shelf, but we'll hate to see this one go for sure. Oh, that's so good. Just sweet caramel. You get the apple, vanilla. Alright, I'm going to move on to the William Heaven Hill. Now this one, again, I got at the same time, one of the best bottles that I can remember, and have yet to found another William Heaven Hill. Hopefully we'll get lucky with the release of it this fall, but this one is, again, about 2 years old. Me being in Knoxville, it's got the nice UT orange color on it, so that's a nice color. It stands out. Don't have a lot of orange label bottles. If you ever get a chance, if you've had this, whatever, let me know. It's super delicious. Highly allocated. And just about gone. But that's the goal in this episode, is to see if we can't drink some of these down and kill some bottles. And also for you to, if you haven't done so, go ahead and hit that subscribe button up there. It doesn't cost anything, helps out the channel. Do yourself a favor, hit that bell for notifications. That way you're notified each and every time I put out a new video, which is quite often. But you don't want to miss those. You never know what's coming up next. And then smash that like button, yo. That helps out the YouTube algorithms to get it out to more people, and ultimately help the channel. None of those things cost anything, but are much greatly appreciated. And then feel free to leave a comment. I've been a little slacking last couple of weeks. I'll try and do that tonight or over the weekend to respond to the last 10 or so comments that I've just not been able to get to. And if you've been waiting for me to respond, I apologize, but my intentions are to do so here in the near future. But let me know if, what you think of these. Again, these are two very highly allocated. Obviously, Booker's, somewhat allocated in typically 4 releases a year. And this one's been open now for what, 8, 9 months, something like that. And I've got 4 or 5 other Bookers that are still open on there, and of course I got 3 more to hopefully be able to find and buy this year. And then of course your standard Benchmark 8 bottom shelf, but quite delicious. But let's go to the William Heaven Hill. Yeah, it's like sweet and both fruity and floral. Yeah, it comes off floral and fruit. Cheers, Bourbon Quest. Oh yeah, super sweet. Yeah, it comes off floral and then fruit of like cherry and apple. Yeah, like a cherry apple pie. So good. And I'm usually not a big fan of those floral or fruit notes, but that's delicious. Really is. Alright, let's go in for a second sip. Man, it's got that nice fruit and floral, but then towards the middle and back, it has a little bit of spice there to it as well. I mean, very complex. I mean, it's one that you really do want to spend some time with and enjoy. Obviously, we've had it now for a little over 2 years. Again, one that don't sip on a very regular basis. Maybe, I don't know, once every 6 months or something, a few pours here and there, or maybe for different things for the channel, but and mainly because I knew it would be one that would not be easily replaced. And that's the only William Heaven Hill I have ever had. Hopefully, like I said, this fall with their newest release, we'll be able to get one. I'm not even sure with the whole pandemic thing if there was one that was released last year. Let me know if there was. Obviously, I never got my hands on one, and haven't seen them or heard anything about it. So hopefully that'll change for this fall with the 2022 release of William Heaven Hill. And if it's anywhere near my experience with this one, I would highly recommend picking up one. Obviously, I think the old Fitzgeralds are very good, both visually, nose, palate. I mean, it wraps. I mean, with this bottle and then the juice inside, probably the most all-around best bottle as far as hitting all the categories. And if you get it at, obviously, at retail value, price, nose, palate, bottle, label. I mean, I don't think there's one negative that you can say about the old Fitzgerald, at least specifically this one. And then I'll do a fresh cracking here soon once this is completely gone to open up the 9-year. Pick up the time. All right, but let me know what bottles you're trying to kill. If you've, like me, have had a couple on your shelf for 2 years or longer, are you continuing to just trying to milk them, save them, or are you like me in a situation where, I've nursed this thing long enough, and while enjoyable, and we'll miss it. You know, it's time to make room on the shelf for a new birth and a new bourbon to take its place. And I guess it'll never take their place, but all right, cheers. This is the Old Fitz 16-year. That is so good. I mean, that's another reason, if you watch this channel any at all, you know, I'm open and honest. I mean, there's two things. Well, a lot of times when I get a bottle I don't like, and I know it sounds kind of weird, is I immediately try to kill that thing as quickly as possible, have some people over, see if they like it or whatever, and get rid of it. I have yet to ever do a complete drain pour. I'm just not gonna waste whiskey, even if it's something that I don't drink. Maybe somebody that I have over will like it, or at least let them try it. I mean, probably the closest thing that I've come, which I've not had any since I opened it, what, a good month ago, is the Castle and Key Batch 2. That was, that's the one that I've been tempted to pour down the drain, but I'm sure some people that I have over would like to try it. Maybe they'll like it and they can help kill it for me, because I don't know if I'll ever touch that again. I'll probably have another sip just to see if airtime has done it any good or not, but that's probably the closest bottle in my experience that I've come close to thinking about pouring down the drain. It was that god awful, but by and large, there's usually something that, you know, I like. But again, if it's something that I really don't care for, really don't like, but it's at least, you know, tolerable or whatever, I'll drink it from time to time. Maybe not on a daily basis, try and get rid of it so I can kind of, you know, I got so much room on my, I have, you know, 2 shelves over there on each side of my TV that between them probably hold like 130 bottles. So that I have for my open bottles, and so if I can get rid of one, that kind of helps me justify opening up a new one. And because there's at least 200 bottles here at the Bourbon Ship that have yet to be opened. Some of them are backups, whether it be Colonel Taylor or Blanton's or whatever, that obviously I've had before, and we'll, you know, open them when they're the other ones are gone. But you know, again, some of these, like this old Fitzgerald and William Heaven Hill, I'll never get again, and so, you know, let them hang around and revisit them from time to time, but knowing I want to get as much enjoyment as long of a period of time as possible. Unlike a bottle that I don't like, that I'll be glad to see when it hits the graveyard. These are going to be sad when they hit the graveyard, that's for sure. All right, again, let me know if you got any bottles that you're trying to kill, if you've had any of these, what your experience has been on those. I always love to hear your comments and experiences, along with being able to share with you. All right, let's go ahead. Surely we can kill. All right, we're going to kill one. This episode is about trying to kill bottles, so let's do one live. The old Fitzgerald 16-year-old. Yeah. That's going to be it for that, so. Old Fitzgerald, red label, 16-year-old, bottled in bond. meets its demise. But it had a good, long, hard run. It has offered a lot of enjoyment and pleasure. Definitely worth the money that I spent on it. And at the time, like I said, when I bought it, I was like, I don't even know what I'm buying. I'm just buying it because you can only buy one. Everybody else is buying one. This was early on in my journey. And thank God I did. I would have been really kicking myself in the rear end if I had passed on that just because of my ignorance at the time. But, you know, there's been other things that I've passed on. I can't think of anything specifically. Oh, yeah, that is one thing I think I passed on once. The one thing that I remember I passed on because I wasn't sure, and then a week, 2 weeks at the most later, from watching other whiskey tubers, again, this was fairly early on in my quest, that said it was freaking amazing, and then I tried to go back and get it, and by that time it had done, and that was the Bardstown Bourbon Chateau de la Baude, or the Scooby-Doo, as Matching Drum says. But no, that's the one bottle that I had a chance to buy, didn't because I was unsure, and I was still very early on in my quest, and went back to try and get it a week or two later, and it had already disappeared, never to be seen again, or at least for now. There may be a resurgence of that. I don't know if it'll be exactly the same, but we'll see. That's the one. But, you know, and there's been other things that I paid, you know, 100, 150 bucks for, maybe even more, that were not worth the money, and been able to, you know, share that with some other people to hopefully, you know, prevent them that thing. But, you know, like for instance, in this old Fitzgerald, everybody else around me was buying it, so I bought it, and that turned out good for me. Now, will that always be the case? No, but I think most of the time, you know, if you're talking to people that have been doing it for as long or longer than you have, you know, I think they're going to try and give you good, honest advice, because usually, a lot of times in those circumstances, I mean, they're not going to tell you no so they can turn around right after you leave and buy 3 of them. I would hope not, anyways. But there's going to be some stuff that is both either highly allocated or expensive that are not worth the money, not worth the hype. And in these situations, especially with this old Fitzgerald that we just killed and this William Heaven Hill, freaking excellent. Was kind of nervous early on in my quest spending that kind of money, which I'd never spent that kind of money before the purchase of those 2 bottles on a bourbon. Since then I have, but luckily for my sake, those turned out to be good experiences, which I guess helped and encouraged me to go deeper into my quest, which I guess it very easily could have been the opposite. I could have reluctantly spent that money and then going, what was I doing? But no, these are good. Don't regret that at all. Definitely actually grateful that I bought them, because they were definitely worth a lot more on the secondary than what I paid, and they delivered. I don't think either one of them were worth what they went for on secondary. I don't think they're that great. For that matter, I don't know if anything is that I've had that I would pay an extraordinary amount on secondary. Like even my favorite bottle of all time so far that I've experienced and purchased the bottle myself for retail was the Jack Daniel's Coy Hill, and that was freaking fantastic. And I paid $70. I'd probably pay, if I hadn't had one or whatever, I mean, based on my experience, I'd probably pay $150, $200, but I think it goes for $500 or more on secondary. Do I think it's worth that? No. As good as it is, I don't know if anything's worth that I get that much pleasure. I mean, I think that's more about just saying, haha, look what I've got and you don't, when you're spending that kind of money. Because I don't know if anything that's delivered that type of experience. That's just about, you know, seeing who's who's got the bigger Buick in the garage, you know what I mean. Whatever. Alright, but cheers, Bourbon Quest. We lost a good soldier today, old Fitzgerald, but it had a good fight. Alright, well, I'm going to finish enjoying this and then see which of these next three meets its demise, and ultimately see what we get to bring to you as far as new bottle openings that will take their place on the shelf. But hey, enjoy your Bourbon Quest. Don't feel free to, don't be afraid to kill a bottle. I mean, ultimately, if you're ever going to enjoy it, at some point it's going to meet its demise. And I think that, you know, there probably is exceptions. If I got a Pappy Van Winkle or a B-Tac, I'd probably hang on to them a little bit longer than this. But I think, you know, once opening a bottle, other than a few exceptions, I really don't see the point in hanging on to it for over 2 years. I think if you want to stretch it to 3, fine. But I think 2 to 3 years after opening a bottle, ultimately they're meant to be consumed. You've enjoyed them. They're going to continue to make more whiskey. Whether it'll be the exact same thing or not, no. But hey, life goes on. Whiskey goes on. With each death is a new birth, is what I say. So there you have it. That's my philosophy. Hey, enjoy those bottles, and when one goes away, bring out a new one. Cheers, Bourbon Quest. Where are we at? All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I'm gonna go finish this. Maybe light up a good cigar. Playing some new videos for you guys in the next few days. Probably be a few days because I had a busy work schedule after this evening shoot. But as always, it's a pleasure bringing you content. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you subscribe. Hope you smash that like button. And as always, my wish for you is that all your Bourbon Quest dreams come true. Good job, old Fitz. Sad to see you go, but may you rest in peace. That's a wrap, Bourbon Quest. We'll see you next time here on Bourbon Quest. Oh, what I'll tell you.